Good afternoon, Nelson County. Sheriff Pennaroa here. A little bit of rules of engagement on this. This is not a bashing. This is simple facts of putting the right numbers where they should be. And please allow, after I'm done doing the Facebook Live, to actually put in the comments documentation where you guys can see what I'm going to be speaking about. This is all in reference to the Thursday afternoon meeting or press conference that Judge Watts put out about law enforcement. As your senior law enforcement in the county, I had no clue what he was going to be talking about. And it was shocking that he was talking about the sheriff's office, but again, did not involve me in any way, shape, or form of what the press conference was about. I did text him, asked him a few questions. He advised me he was not going to talk about it, that it was the state and the future of the law enforcement in Nelson County. I said, fine. I asked him if he was going to split the sheriff's office into county police and sheriffs, and no answer. I finally got to speak with him roughly about an hour after that text, and no answer was given to me. So with that being said, I'll get started again, please. I know we got about over 100 people watching, and no bashing, and just this is a documentation and rebuttal of his press conference. Page 1, most of you do not have it. I will try to post his packet that he posted. His packet, page 1, Judge Watts handout. 13 of 17 sheriff's deputies on fiscal court payroll have come from other departments in the area because better pay or working conditions. 76%. My answer to that is I agree with him that several of our deputies on the fiscal court payroll have transferred from other agencies that are paid less. This includes agencies such as Washington County Sheriff's Office, Danville Police Department, Lebanon Police Department, just to name a few. A few of our deputies counted in the transfer for higher pay transferred 10 to 17 years ago when Nelson County was the highest paid agency in the area. Approximately $4 higher than the Bardstown Police Department. That's no longer true. We're like pond water, and we're staying the same while next door their pay keeps rising up. I would also like to believe that some of these people came because of the work environment and the culture that we have created here at the Nelson County Sheriff's Office. As we have a couple of deputies who came from higher paying agencies like Louisville Metro Police Department and Bardstown Police Department. I again agree that we must be doing something right, or else they would not be coming to us. Number 2, page 2, law enforcement improvements since 1994. I don't disagree that there have been many improvements in Nelson County law enforcement since 1994. Most of us were not even around at the sheriff's office back then. I think the closest one we have was back in 1998, and that would be Jerry Harden. To put it on the record, it directly relates to the merging of the Nelson County Sheriff's Office under Mike Newton, the sheriff, and the Nelson County Police. Back then, Jimmy Riley passed away, and Sheriff Newton was the county police chief, and he was appointed as the sheriff. Later on, ran on a special election and won that ticket and became the sheriff. I also agree that we have a top-notch fleet. We have some of the best cruisers probably in the state, whether it's a Chevy Tahoe or an Explorer made by Ford. Judge Watts on item 4 on his page states that Nelson County includes a $2.12 CLEP, an incentive pay calculated in overtime that the Bardstown Police Department does not pay. That is untrue. First of all, the CLEP money, it's a raise that is was given that is $2.07 since July 1st of this year. It previously was $1.92 up to June 31st. So with that being said, the CLEP incentive pay has got to be paid to any law enforcement agency in the state of Kentucky. That it's a mandate. You cannot not pay on overtime or pay in overtime, like he said. The CLEP is the Kentucky Law Enforcement Foundation Program Fund, established back in 1972. And that comes out of this insurance premiums that deducts a few dollars and is able to put into this fund to pay for an incentive for law enforcement to go to school and go to the academy, have an 800-hour academy service, and 40 hours each year to maintain your certification. Kind of talked about the previous at $1.92, and that Bardstown PD does pay the incentive in the overtime. Again, this is a mandate by the Attorney General and the CLEP money incentive pay. This is not an option to pay that incentive pay. I verified that with the chief. I spoke to her the following day, and she was verifying that before we even spoke, and they do pay it. Talking about budgets. Judge Watts referenced that the Sheriff's Office budget spends $2.7 million, to be exact, $2,709,919, fiscal year ending in 2022 in June, $270,000 more than any previous year. First, let me say that I have never received a full budget as referenced in the press conference since being elected, nor prior to the election. As I review previous administration budgets, I prepared to take on the role as sheriff. I have only ever received the law enforcement operating budget, and I'll go through those. 2016, $1,147,500 under Sheriff Ed Mattingly. 2017, $1,175,800 under Ed Mattingly. 2018, $1.3 million under Sheriff Newton. Under me, the first year was $1,461,700. Correction. First year for me was $1,159,500, cut of $145,000 from the previous year. The following year, it did go up to 1.4. The following year went down to 1.3. And this year, what I've gotten is 1.4 million. So I requested after the press conference for the budget that Judge Watts kept referring to of the $2.7 million. I had never received a budget that looked like that, and it was a 2-pager, and I will be posting these budgets in the following timeline as they get as I get finished with this. I acknowledge that there are additional benefits costs that were agreed to the paid by fiscal court since the merger. I don't disagree that those costs have risen, but these are based on pay rate and cost of benefits, including health insurance. Decisions of health insurance or providers are not decided by the Sheriff's Office. I believe those costs have also risen proportionally across all departments in Nelson County. Let's go to page 3, reference a chart that he put out. On this page, Judge Watts referenced 4 officers, deputies, whose pay needed to be reviewed. Many deputies were upset by the inaccurate information. I don't want to take away from anyone's service in Nelson County, but On one deputy, Judge Watts counted his time as an employee of Nelson County, but referred all his time to the sheriff's office, and then did not count total time. And another deputy working the same previous position as the other one, and he did not count his time. I'm providing a spreadsheet based on each of the fiscal court deputies that were verified pay scales from at least 3 competing agencies: Shepherdsville, Bardstown Police Department, and Mount Washington. Total times and certification police officers. Again, the record of policing agencies count at least 10 years of their service. Meaning, if you have 10 years, you come in at 10 years. We had a deputy leave here. August will be his anniversary for 10 years. The Bardstown Police Department will pay him for 10 years of service. Also, if you come in, again, for the record, the police agencies count at least 10 years. I talked to the chief next door, and she verified and allowed that the total years of service for a police officer. Meaning, if you come in with 16 years to their agency, they get paid for 16 years of service. And again, these are numbers that I have talked and verified, and going to put out there legitimate numbers, not smoke and mirrors. And on the pay scale that he put out, he just puts out the names but does not verify that deputies with higher pay are in specialty positions, i.e., a detective, a sergeant, a captain, another detective, and that is not counting that when they come to be a detective next door, they get the officer pay plus 10 hours for on-call. 10 hours on-call. This is not a political thing that I'm doing. I'm very passionate because I remember where I came from. I was one of them deputies with 3 young kids out here busting my butt, serving our community, and I just want them to feel welcome and rewarded for the time that they're putting here in our county. Again, this is just a rebuttal of the things that I saw that were wrong with his press conference. Again, this is not a bashing time, but at the same time, I want the fairness and comparisons not to be continued to apples to oranges. I'm comparing this apples to apples, and I will put out in the comments what the agencies that he was comparing to, continuing to allow for those comparisons. I appreciate y'all watching me for about 13-15 minutes. I got a little bit over 230 people. I appreciate all of you. I do this for a passion to our community. The things that we do, we set a standard, we set a precedence on how we do things here at the sheriff's office. But I also want what's best for our community and for our citizens. And I want the best deputies out here serving and protecting our community. Again, thank you all for your time and allowing me to set the record straight on numbers that were put out erroneously. Again, let me tell you this about the CLEP money. You are not allowed to utilize the CLEP money, the incentive money, for pay ranges, pay scales, or anything like that. And the reason why is a former sheriff who worked for the Bardstown Police Department back in the 90s or 2000s sued them and went to court for those reasons. So figure out who it is and do the research and see that I'm letting you know and guiding you in the right direction. Again, thank you again, and God bless.